Hi everybody, my name is Jin Ben and welcome to iHome Church. For those of you joining us for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our email list. Well, today I am terribly excited because I spent a lovely weekend with my family. And one of the perks of having a 2-year-old at my age is that he is an endless source or a bundle of energy. And just chasing after him day in and day out keeps me on my toes. But one of the things that he loves to do is, he's already a huge fan of Disney. And so I get to go through the Disney collection all over again through the eyes of my 2-year-old. And it's such a fascinating experience for me because one of his favorite Disney DVDs that he likes to watch is Dumbo. And I found this story to be so interesting because here you have an elephant, and an elephant that is quite unique in that his ears are too big and too floppy, and nobody really knows what to make of him other than to think that he is a freak, something unusual, something out of the ordinary. They don't really know what to call him, so they end up calling him Dumbo. And he grows up being so ridiculed and unappreciated until he meets up with this mouse that tells him that he can do all sorts of things. And one of the most incredible moments in the movie is when the mouse is just encouraging him to jump from a really high place up in the sky. And he's asking Dumbo, Dumbo, you can do this jump, and the little elephant is not really quite sure of himself or quite sure of what he's capable of. But just having this belief in his friend, he takes that jump, and lo and behold, even before he knows what's going on, he's flying through the air. And when I see this moment in the video, it really reminds me of all the things that I have been taught as a girl growing up in a very strict religious environment. I was told, given a list of all the things that I could not do. But I was born with this incredible energy, thinking that I can do whatever I set my mind to. But it's the world that taught me that I cannot do certain things because I was a girl. And likewise, Dumbo is flying fine through the air, but only when he realizes he's doing something that he shouldn't or he cannot do as an elephant. That's when the moment happens and he falters. And I feel that that's very much many times the same thing we experience in our lives. Because many times we are not even aware that we are moving mountains before we could. As this wonderful song, When You Believe, by Mariah, Carey says. Many times we're not cognizant of all the things, incredible things that we are partaking, even without realizing it. And sometimes only when the world catches up with us and we think we know better, that's when we falter. And that's when we fall short or fall on our knees because we forgot to believe in ourselves, in the divinity of our own being, what we can be as God's sons and daughters. So I would like to share this little video that I think is one of the most beautiful things that I have ever seen. And so please take a look. Wasn't that amazing? Who would have ever thought that a feather could be that incredible power of balance? Something that can actually build a structure, or something that can be a work of art. Maybe if there were a couple other feathers lying around on the street, maybe a couple other feathers might look at that feather in particular and say, well, you're just a feather. You're just a feather that fell from one of these birds. You're a garbage. You're no good. You're useless. You should just waste away. You're good for nothing. But this feather, this good for nothing, this garbage, this feather that fell out from one of the birds flying in the air, who would have thought that this feather could be that incredible fulcrum of balance, that incredible essential ingredient that creates this magnificent structure and become a work of art. Who would have thought? Well, this reminds me of a passage in the Bible. It's Romans chapter 12 too. And it says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed." And this is one of the quotes that I like to kind of remind myself each and every day, because it's a really empowering and an inspiring quote, because it's urging us to not be conformed by the world. Many times the world limits us. Many times the world prevents us from accomplishing our dreams. Many times it's the world that is telling us we're no good, we're garbage, we're not good enough, or you cannot do this because, or just forget about it because you'll never get there. Many times it's all these voices from the world or our environment. And the world can be the large world that we see before us, the blue planet called Earth. But many times the world can be our own society, our own families, our own communities. And that can be extremely limiting in terms of, what if you wanted to be a rock star, like my older brother, raised and born into this incredibly conservative religion? Well, you're going to have a lot of rubbing up with the institution and with the society at large in order for him to try to accomplish his dreams. And I remember growing up when I was a little girl, so many people telling me the most important thing for you is to have babies. And if you're not having babies, you're no good. Or they would tell me that don't even think about an education, because the only reason why you should get into Harvard is so that you can find a great husband at Harvard. And it's not because maybe I want an education or maybe I want to further my studies, but everything was because you are to find the best husband possible. So you go to an Ivy League, but that's it. And because you're a woman. Or I remember when I was 16, my father placed me as the captain of my own boat during tuna fishing season in Gloucester. And everyone that I knew, from the top to the bottom, complained to my father, "What are you doing, father? This is not a little lake. This is the open sea. Seasoned sailors lose their lives. How can you let your 16-year-old daughter man a boat all by herself, let alone with 4 other girls, 16, 17, and 18? That's incredibly stupid." This is what people said to my father. And even my mother, out of her concern, said, "Papa, she's just a girl." And I remember my father with a big smile on his face. "Precisely. She's a girl and she'll make a fine captain." So in the midst of all these voices that were telling me, be conformed, you're a girl, you cannot go and be a captain of your own boat at 16. You should only go to study hard, get to an Ivy League college so you can get yourself a good man, an Ivy League man. Or all of these things that were telling me that, when my father asked me, my father said, "I'm not going to be here one Belvedere because father will be away on a tour. So I want you to speak. I want your brother and I want you to speak." And I remember certain leaders saying to father, "Father, you cannot put a girl on the pulpit. Your sons can speak. Why would you put your daughter on the pulpit?" And my father, I remember him clearly saying, "I want my children to speak while I am not here. And I want Hyojin to speak. I want Injun to speak. I want my sons and daughters to speak." And for me, that was a huge eye-opener, because here was my world telling me to be conformed. I cannot do all these things. But here was my Father, the Messiah, and the true parents telling me, do not falter, thinking or listening to those voices that tell you that you cannot do. If you feel moved by the Spirit, if you feel called, and if I ask you, please do this to represent me, then do it. So it was an incredibly liberating experience, and time again. Throughout my life, my father, together with my mother, has been that voice that reminded me to believe in myself, to believe in myself because I was a child of God. I'm a divine being, to listen to my heart. I don't know how many times my father, when I would ask him, Father, I have this question. I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? What is your advice? And so many times he would ask me, what does your conscience say? What does your inner voice say? He was asking me to listen to myself. Here I was, I wanted the Messiah to give me an answer, but the Messiah and the true parents were saying, what do you think? What do you feel in your heart? What is your conscience telling you? And so it was an incredible source of support, of confidence, and trust, ultimately. Because my father was saying, despite what the world is telling you, do not be conformed to the world, but be transformed. Meaning, be that person that God wants you to be. That incredible beacon of light that we all were meant to be. So during this time, when there's so much confusion, after my father's ascension, and everybody is confused, and we feel like we have been caught in this dark ages. And many people are saying, oh my goodness, we're going to suffer through the darkness for the next 7 years. Well, here is our Father, basically reminding us, we were moving mountains long before we knew we could. Were you and I not there, fighting victory over communism? Did we not see the Berlin Wall come down? Did we not see the incredible victories at Washington's Monument and Yankee Stadium? Were we not there? Did we not see hundreds and hundreds of people become inspired to be God-centered people, to really own up and reclaim their divinity that was lost through the fall, and really graft onto this original olive tree, and start the building path, the path of building ideal families? Were we not there? Well, we were there. Maybe not fully cognizant of what an incredible role we were playing in providential history, but you were there, I was there, we were there together with our true parents. So why do we need to be confused? Listen to your heart. Listen to your conscience. Does it not tell you that Father is the Messiah? That we have our true parents here? And it is our job to protect, to support, and to uplift our true parents through these dark times. Well, that's what my conscience is telling me. And I think if you listen to your inner voice, it will tell you the same thing. And so when Father says in January 1969, he says, to follow the path of faith, you must discover the call in yourself, something you cannot deny. So when he's asking us to discover this core in ourselves, what he is asking us to do is that we have been inundated with all of these things that the world shoves in our direction. And we've kind of become crustified with all of these negative thoughts and all these thoughts that prevent us from becoming that divine sons and daughters. But Father is saying, Start discovering. Get to the most important thing. What is the most important thing? The most important thing is that we have our eternal heavenly parents up in heaven. You know, that we have our true parents here. We are divine sons and daughters of God. That we have a duty or a responsibility to live a life of altruism, living for the sake of others, just because. You know, not because we're going to get something, but just because we want to. We want happiness for others. And to live a life of compassion. Live a life as a compassionate human being. These are all the things that we were supposed to be. So when Father says, discover your call, he is saying that, look, all of you have been anointed and blessed by God to live at the time of our true parents. Can you imagine how many millions and thousands of people later on will be saying, you know, my great-great-great-grandfather was there at Yankee Stadium. My great-great-great-great-great-grandmother was there at Washington Monument. You know, my ancestors, they worked together to build a kingdom with true parents. Isn't that amazing? This is what our children, the future, will say. So if we really realize that we are like these precious diamonds that God prepared at this appointed time, you know, we realize here we are, God created us to become beautiful diamonds. And here we are complaining like the diamond that has not been extracted from the ground yet. You know, here we are saying, there's too much pressure. It's too dark and deep here. How long must I wait? There's too much suffering. There's too much rubbing up against different members of my family, different members of my community. But we have to kind of not get lost in the details that we lose the big picture. The big picture is God wants to really cultivate each and every one of us as that beautiful, brilliant diamond. And diamonds are created from coal because of thousands and thousands of pounds of pressure deep in the earth over a long period of time. This is what creates a brilliant diamond. So here we are in this life of faith. Our life of faith is like, you know, taking a bunch of us coals and then really turning us into this brilliant diamond, because God already knows that we are going to be that brilliant diamond. Here we are thinking we're worthless, like the way maybe the feather might have thought. We're just garbage. We're not good enough because we're dark and, you know, we're a bunch of coal. So we see ourselves as a bunch of coal. But what God sees is this brilliant diamond that he's just waiting for. So God is waiting for us at the finish line. And all we need to do is to finish this life of faith with a legacy of love, just as our true Father has done. So during the process, when we feel burdened by thousands and thousands of pounds of pressure, when we feel that we are stuck in this deep and dense and dark earth, you know, when we feel like we've been here forever, all of this time that we have to plow through, that we have to go through, don't forget that God never stopped believing in us. So we shouldn't stop believing in ourselves on the road to the finish line. So, you know, when I look at the word believe, I find it very interesting, you know, coming from an Asian understanding of English, you know, believe. You have the word be, to be, and the word live, to live. So when you believe, you have to believe in yourself. Be yourself. Be that divine son and a daughter of God. Believe in all that you can be. And not just be yourself, but you have to be alive. You have to live. You know, we have to love life. We have to love each other through our life. We have to be alive, meaning just as a child looks forward to every new day with so much excitement, you know, that's the kind of a heart that we should have. A heart of just being grateful for being alive. And in that way, if we can maintain this grateful heart and really learning how to love ourselves. My father has spoken many times that it's very difficult to love God if you don't love yourself. And only when you can love yourself can you love your parents and your family and your country and your nation, world, and God. So basically, if you don't know how to love yourself, you really don't know how to be grateful. When you love who you are, the first thing that comes to mind is thank God for giving me this life, for giving me this opportunity to really fulfill my dreams that I have before me. And with this excitement, continue in this life that we call our own. And in that way, we can be incredibly, incredibly powerful. Because we're not talking about, you know, just doing things because we know that that's what we should do. We're doing things without many times knowing that we are moving mountains. And we have to realize that we're part of a much larger picture. So just as you know, the Dumbo movie is a good reminder not to get caught up in our own knowledge, because sometimes it's our own knowledge of what we cannot do that makes us fall down from the sky. But if we continue to believe that these are not things I cannot do, but of course I can do them. Who told me I cannot do them? Then you will see the incredible process or progress that you can make in your life, because we tend to be our worst enemies in that we hold ourselves back. But if we have no concept of what we cannot fulfill or what we cannot do, guess what? We're already in the process of fulfilling it and accomplishing it. So with that thought in mind, please believe, be yourself, and live this incredible life that God put in your care. And thank God, our Heavenly Parent, thank our true parents, and thank our families for helping us to become that incredible son and a daughter of God. So have a great week. Take care.
Many nights we prayed with no proof anyone could hear. In our hearts a hopeful song we barely understood. Now we're not afraid, although we know there's much to fear. We were moving mountains long before we knew we could. There can be miracles when you believe. Though hope is frail, it's hard to kill. Who knows what miracle you can achieve? When you believe, somehow you will. You will when you this time of fear, when prayer so often proves in vain, hope seems like the summer birds too swiftly flown away. Yet now I'm standing here, My heart's so full I can't explain, seeking faith and speaking words I never thought I'll say. There can be miracles when you believe. Though hope is frail, it's hard to kill. Who knows what miracles you can achieve? When you believe, somehow you will. You will when you believe. They don't always happen when you ask. Easy to give in to all your fears, but when you're blinded by a pain, can't see the way, get through the rain. A small but still resilient voice says hope is very near. There can be miracles when you believe. Though hope is frail, it's hard to kill. Who knows what miracles you can achieve? When you believe, somehow you will. You will when you believe.
If you have any questions and comments, please leave them below the video or go to injinmoon.com and use the contact form. And don't forget to subscribe to our email list. Have a great week. Take care.